So the darkness cycle. This is where bad stuff happens to you. This is when the monsters fight back. So it's managed by the game. So it's a procedure you need to follow. It's fairly simple. Some mistakes can be made, of course. It's not that big a deal if it happens. Just try to get it right next time. But don't recap the whole scenario because you misunderstood something or you misplayed something earlier on. So first step in the darkness phase, and remember that the list or the procedure is written on the darkness board. So if you're confused or you're unsure if you're missing something, have a look at the darkness board. So the first step is check threat range. Um, Basically, when a tile is set up, the monsters on it are not active. So if the darkness cycle triggers, they wouldn't move and attack you. They would simply ignore you. So the first thing you do when a darkness cycle starts is check if a monster is within threat range or if a hero is within the threat range of any monster. So basically, you're gonna add the threat range on the monster's card to the threat of the hero you're looking for, if you will. And if let's say if a monster has a monster such as the Grubber, I'm gonna find the card real quick. Grubber has a threat range of 4, so you're gonna add 4 to whatever the threat of every hero one by one. And if the distance between the hero and the closest grubber is shorter or equal to the threat range of the monster plus the threat of that hero, well, the whole group, the monster type, so every grubber and muckers on the tile would activate. So, and in this case, if after checking threat range, or I should say first, once monster activate, they stay active. The whole monster type gets activated, and they all stay activated for as long as they're alive, basically. So until you've killed all the grubbers on the tile and the lair of the grubbers would be considered to be active and would keep coming at you to attack you. So even if you left the tile, they would continue to spawn if there's a lair, and they would continue to run after you. If after, like I said, they stay activated, so you could already have one monster type active on the tile. So if I had grubbers and crawlers at the same time on the same tile, the crawlers could be active and the grubbers could for now still be inactive. So in this case, when I play the darkness cycle, if I check threat range at the start and the grubbers are still too far away to activate, then they will remain inactive for the whole darkness cycle. They won't move, they won't spawn, they won't attack me, even if I get closer to them during the darkness cycle. So after you check threat range, if at least one monster type is active, then you continue with the darkness cycle. If no monster type is active after this step, the darkness cycle ends right now. So in this case, let's say the grubbers are activated, so there is a monster group active, monster type active. In this case, you would draw a darkness card, so the next one in the deck, and you resolve whatever happens on that card. So in this case, well, it's always the same structure. So you're gonna start with the event. You do them from top to bottom. So the event, it tells you previous damage done to the lair spawns equal number of minions immediately. So all lairs, at least so far, have 5 vitality, 5 hit points. So this tells you for every damage you've done to it already. So if you've done two points of damage before this darkness card is played or drawn, then you immediately spawn 2 minions. If it's undamaged, nothing happens. Next step is the threat penalty. This is what I was talking about earlier. So if at least one hero has threat 10, then heroes are limited to 3 action spaces for the rest of the act. Next is the activation. So this gives you the order in which the rank of the rank of the monster gets activated. So minions will play first, then captain, then mini boss, and then the boss, if you're unlucky enough to have it on the tile. During the activation, every monster moves first, and then every monster is gonna attack. So in this case, all the minions would move, and then all the captain would move, and then the mini boss would move, and so on, and then all the minions would attack, and then the captain would attack, and so on. If you have more than one monster type on a tile, and well, I should say if more than one monster type is active on a tile, you're gonna have to determine in what order they activate. So this is done with the monster classification. So if we'll see them a bit later on, I think, but basically the instinct monsters would play first. So if you have crawlers and grubbers and a stalker, which is the crawler captain, on the tile, and all of them are active, then you would play your crawlers first because they're instinct minions. Then you would, or I should say, you would move the crawlers first. Then you would move the grubbers because they're intellect, but they're minions still. So you would play them. Then you would move the stalker and be done with the movement because there's nothing else on the tile. And then in the same order, they would all attack. So the classification order for the activation of monster is instinct. So for now, that's your crawlers. Then intellect. So that's the grubbers for now. And then undead. So there's no undead in the game. Or sorry, there is one, but it's the mini boss. It's so anyways, you would play on the mini boss turn, but he's an undead. So the undead play last. So if you get the Shambler expansion, then you'll play them after the crawlers and the grubbers. And they all instinct, intelligent, and undead have a different activation. They behave differently during activation. I guess the easiest way to explain it is, and again we'll see it in the gameplay example to show you more precisely, but basically it's only the intelligent or intellect group would make space for other monsters. So when the instinct or undead creatures move towards a hero, as soon as they reach the target, they stop moving. So maybe the next guy coming behind can't reach the hero because of that, but that's their flaw, if you want, or if you will. So they have to go around the previous monster. Maybe in some cases you'll be spared one attack because the next guy can't reach you, but that's part of their instinct behavior. The intellect guys will make room as much as they can for more guys to attack you. So be aware of that when you face grubbers. So basically, there are also rules about group movement for minions. So again, I'll explain or I'll show you guys in the gameplay example video, because it's going to be easier to understand, I think, if I show it as at the same time as I'm explaining it. Monsters also have a line of sight mechanic, just like the heroes. Basically, they follow the same rules. The only exception being they see through each other, and they see through heroes. So you basically, it's very hard to hide from ranged monsters in this game. You need to find some red lines and just hide behind them. If not, then you'll get attacked. So that's pretty much it. And if again, this will be part of the gameplay example, but if you're facing multiple monster, especially minions of the same type, and let's say 3 grubbers are attacking the same hero, in the rules they tell you to roll all those attacks together, but this is only to make it faster. If you're not sure why you should do that, or if you're not sure you'll get it right, you can play them separately. Really, it's the same concept, but in the gameplay example, I'll show you guys how it works. It's fairly simple. And the last step of the darkness card is the spawn. So in this case, it would be a heavy spawn. So it tells you to see the minion cards. So on the minion cards, you'll get the explanation for a normal spawn and the heavy spawn. Spawn is very much dependent on the keyword on the card. There is a long list of different types of spawn in the rulebook, so it's on page 42. If you want to see the whole list, there's quite a few. For now, I think the ones I've seen most is focused, heavy, and normal, but there's surely some other in there. And I guess we can look at a monster card right now to understand how it works. So this is the Grubbers card. Just under the name, you'll see a type. For now, this is tribal. To the best of my knowledge right now, this is purely flavor. There's no rule about tribal monsters, but I guess maybe somewhere down the line there could be. Also, you'll see, and this is probably the most important information about the grubbers, their intellect. So like I said earlier, they would activate after instinct monster, and also they will make room for other monster when they move to attack you. They are armored, so basically some of the hero cards refer to armored minion or armored monsters. So these guys are armored, so you'll see on the player cards how they can interact with that, and it tells you that they're minions, so you know for sure. Top left corner is the target number required to hit a grubber, so in this case you would need a 5 or more on a d10. Top right is the grubber's movement, so he can move 3 spaces. On the left side, the blood drop tells you it has 1 hit point, so you only need to do 1 damage to kill it, to kill 1 grubber. And the last number at the top is the courage information, or the courage statistic. So they have 7. So if they ever need to make a courage test, there's not much courage test required in the base set, but there is a few ways to have them test courage. If they need to make a courage check, they need 7 or more to succeed. Under that section is the attack section. So in the line you see that they roll 1d10 in their attack. The number in the flame tells you that the grubber makes one attack against one target. So the number in the flame is the amount of targets targeted by the attack. The following information is the target number required for the grubbers to hit a hero. So he would need a 7 or more. Again, you'll see with the items and the hero cards that this number can be altered, as well as the target number to hit the grubber, but you can make it harder for the grubber to hit you. And then you get the description of the attack. So he uses crude weapons, so it's one attack on one target, and then range is 1 melee, and it does 1 damage per hit. Then there is a special section just under that. It tells you strength in numbers. All grubbers gain -2 target number to courage tests when there are 4 or more grubbers on a round tile. So the 7, instead of rolling 7 or more for a courage test, if there are 4 or more grubbers on the tile, it would be a 5 or more check. So it's fairly easier if they're in group. And then on the right you have the priorities. So that's what I was talking about earlier, to know where the grubbers will move and who they will attack. So the first priority is threat. So whoever has the highest threat will be the target, or the first target of the grubbers. If there are more than one hero with the same threat, then you go to the second priority. In this case it's proximity, so they will go to the hero closest to them. And again, if there are 2 or more heroes that have the same threat and are at the same distance, then they would go to the rage type heroes first. So for now that's your soldier. And then just know that if there are with the 3 priorities listed here, you still can't find where the grubbers will go. There are 2 more priorities in the rulebook that apply to every monster when the 3 first priorities don't find a target. So far this has not happened in my group, but surely it can and it will happen at some point. The 2 other priorities are least vitality, so they would go to the most injured hero, or at least the one closest to dying, not necessarily the most injured, but the one that will need the least amount of damage to die, and then a player's choice. So you would choose where the monster go. Last note on priorities, the monster only consider in their priority list the heroes that are within, or I should say, they first consider heroes within striking distance. So in the case of a grubber, since he only has melee attack and he moves 3 spaces, he would first go through his priority list considering only heroes at a distance of 4 spaces or less, because he can reach those heroes and attack them. If there are no heroes within that distance, then all heroes on the tile would be considered and you would go through your priority list again. So with melee minions, it can happen that they won't attack on the darkness cycle because they can't reach anyone. With the ranged minions, and so far there's only ranged minions, they will pretty much always find a target because you look at their movement plus their range. So basically, if they have a movement of 4 and a range of 3, then they can reach heroes within 7 spaces of them. So it's getting harder and harder not to be in range of their attack when they activate. Under the priorities, you have the threat range I was talking about earlier. So in this case it's a 4. So this is what you add to the threat of the hero when you're trying to find them in the check threat range step, so the first step of the darkness cycle. and then you have the spawn information at the bottom. So in this case, a normal spawn would create or spawn 3 grubbers, so 3 minions. And if you were unlucky enough to have a heavy spawn, just like I had on my darkness card, then you would have 2 minions, 2 grubbers, and 1 mucker. So that's 1 captain. So that's bad news, because then the mucker are very, very much stronger than the grubbers. During the darkness cycle, the heroes can only play interrupt cards, so they can't play actions and reactions. They can only play interrupts, and then only if they have space left on their hero board. So remember, you have 4 slots on your hero board. If you've already played 4 cards, too bad, you can't play any interrupt, even if you add a dodge or some card to boost your defense. So it's harder for the monsters to hit you. It's too bad. You should have thought of it before you played all the cards before. So it's a good idea to always leave at least 1 open space if you think the darkness may trigger during your hero cycle. If you generate more AP or action points during the darkness cycle, keep scoring them on the track. So whenever the track reaches 6, you reset it to 0. So you move the token just aside of the track. But if you play a card that generates an interrupt card that generates 1 AP during darkness cycle, move the token to 1, and so on. So you keep generating AP. I guess technically it could happen that you generate a second darkness cycle right after that darkness cycle. I haven't seen it yet, but I mean, technically it could happen. If it does, good luck. And then once the darkness is done, so all the monsters have moved, attacked, the spawn occurred and everything, then it's back to the heroes. The hero cycle resumes. Last note I have, just be aware that if the event has you adding new monster or spawning monster, if it doesn't mention that they spawn from a lair, which is the case with the darkness card I showed you earlier, if it doesn't tell you it's coming from a lair, then you add them from the tile edge that's the farthest away from the heroes. So even if there is no lair on the tile, the monsters spawning from the event step would still show up, unless, like I said, it mentions a lair somewhere in the event. But the spawn only occurs if there are active lairs on the tile. So every active lair on the tile would spawn whatever the card tells you. So in the case of a heavy spawn, you would add 2 grubbers and 1 mucker for every grubber's lair active on the tile. If you mix the races on a tile, so if you have a grubber's lair and a crawler's lair, both would have the heavy spawn. So you would add 2 grubbers and 1 mucker on the grubber's lair, and then whatever is the heavy spawn for the crawlers. And like I said, when you're done, you go back, you resume the hero cycle. I think just to show you a bit of a difference, real quick, I'll show you the Mucker's card. Basically, the information on the top is the same. It's the same thing, but different numbers, of course. So this guy has a target number of 7 to hit him, so he's 20% harder to hit. He's got 3 hit points, so harder to kill. But let's have a look at his attack. He rolls 2d10 per attack and 1 fate dice. So the fate dice are the d6 in the game. The way the attack works is he has 2 attack on 1 target with a target number to hit of 5. So, and if you look at the description, it's instruments of suffering, 2 attacks on 1 target, range 1 melee, 1 damage per hit. So you would roll 2 d10s and 1 fate dice twice on the same hero. So 2 attacks, each can do 1 point of damage. And you, in the special section, you see this has to do with the fate dice he rolls for each attack. Knocks target prone on a darkness symbol. So basically the muckers have 2 chances per round, per cycle, to knock a hero prone, and being prone is very bad. We'll see that in the status later on. Or you can have a look in the rules. The priorities are the same as the grubbers, but he has a threat range of 5 instead of 4, and the captains don't have the spawns at the bottom because that's on the minions card. They have a buff. So in this case, it's Call of the Lesser, plus 1 grubber spawn during normal spawn. So every time you're gonna have a normal spawn, if there's at least 1 mucker on the tile when you get a normal spawn from the darkness card on a grubber's lair, then instead of spawning 3 grubbers, you would spawn 4. So that's bad news. So one more reason to get rid of the mucker as quickly as possible. That's basically what I had to do, what I had to tell you about the darkness cycle. So once they're done, the hero cycle resumes, so you can keep playing cards and moving depending on what space you have left on your board. The darkness track has went back to 0 when after it reached 6, but it could have increased more during the darkness cycle. Also, last note about the darkness AP track, sorry. If the card that triggered it was let's say a 2 AP cards, such as Last Rites, and the darkness was already at 5, so it would technically have gone to 7. Since there is no 7, as soon as it reaches 6, you reset it to 0, but then every AP is leftover AP is carried over. So the AP track would go back to 1, not 0 in this case. So again, that's important. So you would already start with AP 1 when you go back to your hero cycle. So it's the next darkness cycle is that much closer.